What's up, guys? This is the Board Game Roamer, and I am here with a playthrough of Raiders of the North Sea. And this is actually really a very special playthrough because this is a solo playthrough. That's right, Shem Phillips has come up with a solo variant. It utilizes a solo play card deck here, and you can use both the Hall of Fame, or the Hall of Heroes, and the Fields of Fame expansions. So what I've done is I've already set this up, and what we're going to do is we're going to give, we're going to give this a go and see what happens. So let's talk for just a second about setup. When you set up the game, you have this deck of cards. All right, this is a solo deck, and you're going to end up having 21 cards in this deck. And this deck is going to determine what the AI does. You set the AI up, you just give it a color. It doesn't have a player board, but it's going to get provisions, and it's going to move along the fame, reputation track, armor track, Valkyrie track. It's going to do all that. It's going to try to grab quest. It's going to take some stuff off the board, and that's how it's going to try to slow us down. I have an example card right here. Whoopsie. Ooh. So let's take a quick look. Uh-oh. There we go. Let's take a quick look at this card, which I probably just messed up this shot, but that's okay. Let me get these out of the way. So here's an example card. So basically, what this card is going to do is, let's put it right here. So at the top, you're going to see some icons that are very familiar. The number that's in red is the armor strength required to raid. So on the armor track, basically the AI is going to do one of two things. They're either going to raid or they're going to work. In order for them to raid, they have to meet 3 criteria. And they have to meet all 3 criteria. So if any one of these things is not true or can't happen, then it doesn't raid. So it has to have an armor strength equal to or higher than this number. So in this case, 5. It has to have enough provisions, so it has to have at least 4 provisions. And it says there must be an available set of plunder. So if you look here, this says, for example, the monastery, raid monastery, and then it'll have basically a work option. And it's going to look at the monastery slots on the board, on the game board, and it's going to pick and it's going to choose these in order 1 to 2. Okay? And so if one of those is available, the first one or the second one, it'll take them in that order. If neither of those are available, then what it does is it does this bottom action, which is the work action. And that work action in this example says take the middle tile that you normally turn in, but we would turn in for points. Like in this case, I'm looking at the board and it's got, say, golden cattle, right? And they give you 3 points. Well, it would actually pull this off the board. And remember that particular, tile, that set of tiles, there's a stack of those. These right here is what I'm talking about. And they run out, that's an in-game trigger. So it's going to do things like that to slow you down and to end the game. At the very bottom here, you'll see an X and then it's got a location, in this case a town hall. So what that says is, I as the player cannot use that on my next turn. And it doesn't matter whether they worked or didn't work. Whatever they did, regardless of whether they worked or raided, this is still true. So even if I had an opening and I could potentially go to the mill, or excuse me, the town hall in this case, I would not be able to do that on my next turn. So they're kind of blocking out some spots, which is another way that they're trying to mess with you. As quests, let's go back to the table. As quests go on the board, right? Remember these quest tiles, right? As we take these quest tiles, I'm going to flip this one over, but they go in these spots once they've been raided. and flipped over. Uh, at the end of the game, any of these that are left out, the AI gets. So they're not going to pick them off the board necessarily, but we're going to have to take them off the board in order to reduce the number of points that the AI has. As far as rating goes, when they get plundered, so normally they would basically when they raid a location, they're going to move their marker. For instance, that card that I showed you up here, this has got a 7, so it's going to move 7 points on the point track. Okay, so they're going to go 7 points that way, and I couldn't quite get in the point track at the top, so I do apologize. I can't really get it in at the bottom either, unfortunately. This is a really long board. If they get a Jarl token, if they get a Valkyrie token, they are going to move, and I forgot to put them on the Valkyrie track, apparently. Oops. I'll have to fix that in a second. They're going to move along the Valkyrie track. Oh, here they are. I just got knocked over. They're going to move along the Valkyrie track. If they get a Valkyrie, they're going to move up 1 on the Valkyrie track, but they're going to move 1 down on the armor track. And let's see what else. If they get a Jarl token, they're going to go 2 up here and lose 1 on the armor track, so they can get potentially points on that track as well. They do have a hard limit of provisions and armor. They cannot go above, I believe it's 10 armor and 8 provisions. Okay, so they still have that ceilings. But what happens is, if they get to 10 armor and they can't take any more armor, and their card says they need armor, then you give them a provision. If they get to 8 provisions and they need another provision, they go up on the armor track, but the same limit still applies, and so they would just basically at that point they'd be like, stuck. They wouldn't really get anything. So that is how it goes. Most of the cards are going to work. There's a few cards that have different things that affect players when we normally play with real players and not the AI. So basically, everything's going to work. If it has anything to do with armor or provisions against an opponent player, then that is going to happen. But basically, everything else that has to do with the AI or has to do with the human player, if we have that card, is not going to happen. So, and we always take our turn first. And I believe, just thinking, I believe that is all we have. Yeah. That's all there is to it. So I guess let's get started. And if we do run out of, one other thing. So I've not played this. I literally have. This will be the first time I played it. So hopefully I won't make too many mistakes. But the game also gives you the option to increase the difficulty. And so if you want to increase the difficulty to hard or heroic, you can do that. And hard is adding 2 provisions and 2 armor. Heroic is 4 provisions and 4 armor. Having not played this yet, I didn't want to give myself too much of a disadvantage, but I did go ahead and add 2 armor on the armor track and 2 provisions over here. So he does start out with a little bit of an advantage. We always go, and then the AI goes. When we get through with this deck, we'll shuffle the deck up, and this will become the new draw deck, and we'll just keep going until one of the in-game conditions is met. What are the in-game conditions? Just as a reminder, If there's only one set of plunder left in a fortress, that is an in-game condition. The offering draw pile, which is down here, right? These tiles that I showed you earlier that you could potentially take, is depleted. That is an in-game condition. If there are no Valkyrie tokens left on the board, that is an in-game condition as well. Right. So I think that's everything. So now, let's get started. I do want to show you one other thing. Oh, there it is. I'll show you one other thing right quick. And I've already did my hand. So let me show you what I got for my characters, my people, townsfolk. So this is an archer, costs 3 silver, has a fighting power of 3. I can gain 2 VP when raiding an outpost if I use it here on my board, or if I can use it to swap an opponent's worker with one from the village. Which this is a good example of that player's not really going to be helpful for me because my opponent doesn't actually have a worker. But he is worth 3, and he gives me extra points for outposts, so that was good. And then I've got another 3. The Warmonger, he gets extra points for raiding a harbor. And then I've got his player power is take one provision from an opponent. So he may actually be useful to do that if I wanted to keep the AI from maxing too many provisions and getting ahead that way. So that's a good one. Next, we've got the Brewmaster, and this is actually from the Fields of Fame expansion. So he is worth 1, but he gains 2 mead before going on a quest. Or I can just play him to gain just straight up 3 mead. So he's good for questing, or I can just use him to boost my mead. And if you remember mead, I can have again up to 8 of those, but each mead, let's go back to the table. Each mead that I have will allow me to add 1 more power. So it's a good way if you have some not powerful units to get more power, and we'll see how that goes. So let's get started with the first turn, and the first turn of course is going to be myself, and we start the game with 2 silver, and I'm definitely going to need more silver ultimately, but I can't do that initially. So I am going to oh wait, yes I can. Yes I can. Yeah buddy. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the silversmith and get 3 silver, so that'll give me 5 total. And then let's I'm gonna lay this down so hopefully it's a little bit easier to see. Let's go to the gatehouse, I think, and that way I can get me a couple more heroes, and I get Gatekeeper. He is 1 attack, and his abilities are draw 1 additional card in the gatehouse. So if I go here, I can get an extra card, 3 instead of 2. Or I can just use his ability to draw 3 new cards to my hand. So that's the first one. And the second one is the Trader. Gain 1 silver after subduing a Jarl. Costs 1 silver to buy, has 1 fighting power. And if available, add 1 Jarl to a chosen set of plunder. Interesting. So we could actually use that if we wanted to fight or add a Jarl, and we wanted a location to have one of those that didn't. and if we could add it out here. And I'll double check right quick, but I do believe that there are a couple of Jarl tokens still left in here. Yes, there's at least one. There's two. Plus whatever will get thrown back in the bag eventually. So there you go. That's cool. Alright. So those are my 2 actions. So I went to the silversmith. I grabbed some people. Now, let's see what the AI is going to do. Alright, so cannot go to the monastery, and I think what I'm going to do is maybe take a brewery token, just to remind myself. Cannot go to the armory. I'm going to put that on the space. It says Raid Monastery requires 3 provisions and 5 armor, which he does not have. So instead, he will increase his armor by 1, so that puts him at 3, and he's going to gain 2 provisions. So these 2 provisions come out, and they go over here. So now there's 4 provisions. Yeah. There's 4 provisions for our... I'm going to put these sideways here. 4 provisions. Let's get this a little bit further up. There we go. 4 provisions for our enemy AI. And now it is my turn. So I'm definitely going to need some provisions. So I think I'm going to start with going to the mill to get 1. So that will be mine. And then I probably should hire somebody. Let's go ahead and pay 3 silver. So there's my 3 silver. And we're going to play the Warmonger. This gives me an additional VP when raiding a harbor. So that's cool. So that's my first action. And I can't pick that one up again. So I think I think I'm just going to go back to the silversmith. I think I'm going to have to do that so I can get me a decent amount of people out here. And that's going to be my turn. Lay my cards right here. I'm going to draw a card for the AI. 2 power. Yes, he has 2 power. Let me go down here just so you can see this. Let me put that down here for me. So we check, does he have 2 power? Yes, he has 2 power. Does he have 3 provisions? He has 4. So he is going to attempt to raid if one of these 3 harbor positions is open, and of course, having not raided yet, the harbors definitely are open. So let's go back to the table, and what's going to happen is he's going to get some points for this on the point track. So look here. So based on this card, we go left to right, and number 1 is here. So number 1 happens. So that's going to be this location. So we're going to remove all of these provisions. Okay. Those are going to go back to the bag. But we do have a Jarl token. So when we have a Jarl token, what we have to do is we go 2 up on the fame track over here, and we go 1 down on the armor track over here. So that's done. And remember, we spent 3 provisions to do that. So boom, there's the 3 provisions. And there's this in the bag. And that, oh, we've got to give him his points. So he gets 4 points on the point track. So we're going to move, and he's yellow, 4, 2 there. That's not really, oh, you can't really see that. I know that's kind of a hard, maybe I should switch his color. Okay, alright, so we got that situated. So he's got his 4 points. Move that up, and I know you can't see that on the top. When it comes back around to 26, and I'm sure that they'll get there, you'll see that. And the town hall is what is going to be blocked, so I'm going to put that marker there just to remind myself. And that goes there. And now it is our turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we're going to, I really wanted to raid actually, but I don't have enough provisions, so that kind of stinks. Alright, so we're going to go to the, we're going to go to the silversmith. Now normally I would take 3, but I have a limit of 8, and I already have 5. So I can only take 3 more. So we'll do that. So at least I have my max now, and then we'll also again go to the mill because we need that provisions, those provisions. Alright, that's our turn. We go to the AI. The requirements here, and you guys have seen a card, so I'm just going to show you. I won't pull it up for every single card. 7 on the power track, he does not have that. So we'll go to the work action, and that is going to be, he's taking this far right tile. So tile, put that up there with him. And that takes care of that card, and he is blocking, oh man, he's blocking the mill this next time around. Of course he is. Oh well, it is what it is, right? And then it's back to us. So I guess this is going to be a good time to maybe, well, we're probably going to be raiding outposts soon. So let's go. I'm gonna say let's go to the barracks. Yes, go to the barracks. And we're going to hire the archer. Archer's 3 power, but gives us 2 extra VP when raiding an outpost, and that's the second set. There's these 2, there's these 2 outposts, so we'll want to try to get to them as soon as we can. And that will also give us the 2 people that we need in order to go to the harbor. And then we're going to go back to the silversmith and top off our monetary fundage, I think. Yep, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to here. Okay, oh wow. Okay. So, this is a raid harbor. Gosh, okay. 2 military strength, which they have. Of course they do. Of course they do. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put out a quest token. I certainly did. So here's the quest. Oops. The quest token for there, and here's a new tile for this. So they do have 2 power, and wow. Man, that stinks. They have 2 power, and they have the 1 provision, so they will actually raid. And they're going to continue to block the mill. So they're going to raid this middle harbor. It's going to cost them 1 provision. They do have the requisite power, so they're going to get 5 more points. That's going to put them up to 9. And they're going to raid this middle harbor, so that's this one right here. So, alright, so this is, we actually have a Valkyrie and a Jarl token. So, what we're going to do is take the first set of plunder. Yes, we did. Reach Valkyrie. Move the score marker up 1 space on the Valkyrie track and down 1 space on the armor track. Yep. So, he's going to go up 1 on the Valkyrie track, go 1 down on the armor track. And then for the Jarl token, it's going to go 2 up on the Jarl track and down 1 more on the armor track. So, that is all of that. We've given it the points, and we've taken the provisions, and it's blocking the mill. So, there you go. It does get a lot of points really quick. Now, I do think, yeah. So when it goes to these, I forgot to do this. These gray tokens go away. So they're going to go back over here. And quest. Boom. There we go. So there's another quest out. So remember, I'm going to need to start picking these up. Okay. That card is completed. Next we go. So we can't go to the mill. Of course we can't go to the mill. I don't really have what I need to pick up a quest, so that's not going to be good. I really need to go to the gatehouse, honestly, to get more people, I think. Yeah, so we're going to go to the gatehouse and draw 2 more cards. We draw the Forager, gain 1 additional provision in the mill as their hired power, or we can just straight up gain 2 provisions. And the second card is, if killed on raid, gain 1 VP. This is the mercenary. All players must give you 1 silver or 1 provision. And he's got 4. So, that's our first action. Second action, we probably ought to hire one of these people, and I think I think we're going to use the town hall, and we're going to use the forager to get the 2 provisions. I know I could probably get more overall from the mill, but I really want to get out there and get some of these items so I can get more provisions like these cattle or that armor in order to get that and get moving on grabbing some of this other stuff, hopefully. So yes, those are my 2 actions. That is completed. Now let's see what the AI is going to do. Okay, requires 8 power. No, sir. And you'll see early on, I think, it's not necessarily going to have a whole lot of power. So you're going to find yourself doing more work generally earlier on. But eventually that's going to happen. So he cannot do, does not have 8 power, so that's good because that would have been worth 9 points if he'd had 5 provisions. So instead he's going to gain 1 on the armor track. So there's no 1 on the armor track. And the gatehouse is going to be blocked. Which is okay because the gatehouse is not the mill, and that's where I potentially want to go. Although I'll probably actually end up going over here so I can get my raid on. Alright. So I get to go. So I think... Ooh, I could go on quests. Or I really, actually, I guess I could pick up somebody from at the meat hall. That may... Interesting. Actually, I think I'm gonna start out with I think, yeah, we're actually gonna go to the meat hall, and we're going to pull we're gonna pull this first card, the Watchman, 4 power, 4 to hire his. If he's hired, his hired ability, gain 1 strength if you have a hired hero, or we can play him for his other ability at the town hall to gain 4 silver if we do not have a hired hero. But when we do that, we gain 1 mead, so that potentially could help us. And we refill. And this is take 1 less wound when subduing a Jarl. Ooh. Lose 1 provision to move up to 3 wounds. That is the Protector. And it costs 3. So that's our first action. Second action, I think, actually, I think we're going to go to the barracks. We're going to hire our Brewmaster. Just because now that there's a couple of these on the board, and needing to get these, I think, is going to synergize well, because I need to get these quests off the board, and he's going to give me mead, which normally I would have to use an action to go over here to the mead hall and charm the crowd in order to make that happen. And so he's going to help keep me from having to do that. So I think that's going to be a smart play. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hire him. That's going to cost me 1 silver. Bing, bang, boom. My turn's over. We go to the AI. And they're 7 power. They don't have that. They only have 2. So they're going to gain 1 on the armor track and gain 2 provisions. So there's the 2 provisions. So now they have a couple to work with, and they're going to block out the silversmith, which is okay. I'm good with that because I was not planning on using that. Okay, so now I believe it is time to go a raiding. So let's go to the harbor. Now I have decisions to make, because if I go here, there is a Jarl token there and an iron there, so that could help me move up on these tracks and give me a really strong hero. But of course, I don't have a whole lot of really strong heroes either. Yeah. You know what? Let's just try it. Let's just try it. So we're gonna go here, and we're going to raid. I think we're gonna raid this harbor. Okay. And we're going to take the items. So that's going to give us 1 iron and 1 cattle. And let me kind of get this halfway like that. So that's good. The Jarl. So here's what happens with the Jarl. So what we've got to do is we've got to draw a Jarl card, and we have, this is actually a promo card. The Jarl Eriksson, he's got a power of 6. We can gain 3p if you've completed one of each quest type with his player power once he's hired, or we can when we kill him, we can immediately complete a quest. Ooh. Man, getting rid of. I mean, he's got 6 power, which is great, but being able to immediately complete a quest, especially when I need to get some of these off the board, and I could complete something like this 7 that requires just a huge amount of items from your hand as far as people go to turn in that power. So, see, the problem is with a 6, man, we're not going to have any military power left, and we don't really have a way to. Alright, so we're going to have to take some damage, I think. So we got to take a total of, since we're going to kill it, 7. Because his power is 6, and we have to take 1 more, so 1, and then 3, and then 3 more. Alright. So there's all of our damage, which basically means we have 0 ability to fight. But we gain 2 points on the fame track, and we get to. Actually, I guess this should be the other way. This is probably the. Discard. We get to complete a quest, and I'm going to choose to complete this quest because it's got the most points as far as what I'd have to discard normally, and that is going to gain us 1 cattle, so there's our cattle, and 1 provision. And that's the provision. Alright, cool.